Let's pretend it's the summer of 1970 and a group of friends have decided to gather around to watch a football match. It is the 1970 World Cup final between Brazil and Italy, which makes history as the first World Cup final to be broadcast across the globe.
Yes, it would be cruel to say it, but giving away a 2-goal advantage can only happen once in the 1970 World Cup, but we know who did that. I don't think Brazil are going to do it here. Erdino, faced by Facchetti. Oh, it's not a bad ball for Pele on the right side. It's Carlos Alberto.
At the time, this was widely considered by everyone as the absolute peak of football, with Pele at its center as the greatest of all time. This circle right here is 1970 Pele in terms of chance creation compared to 1,500 other players. In fact, at the time, Pele was so good that if you would somehow manage to time travel and show this to someone in the 1970s and tell him that a handful of players will actually exceed Pele and his 1970 World Cup performance, you would probably be told that the only place he belonged to is a mental asylum. Well, you see, recency bias is a real thing, which is why for newer generations, Kane and Bellingham in 2026 might be their choice for best individual performance in a World Cup, while others, for example, might pick Luka Modric in 2018. However, Messi in 2022 and 2026 are always going to be the most common answers, especially for the newer generations who are able to witness it themselves. But again, there are also other countless performances such as James Rodriguez in 2014 or even Pogba in 2018. But the older generations, however, will always lean towards Maradona or Pele, especially with how far ahead of the game they were at the time. But again, the most important question is, how do you actually measure someone's peak? Does being the best mean you actually have to win the World Cup, or would it be enough to single-handedly carry a team further than it should have? Well, what if there is a way to find out by tracking data for every performance and match since 1966 up until today? Well, that is exactly what I have done. I have tracked every match and every performance since 1966 up until the 2026 World Cup. You see, it's not really that simple. As you know, in a football match, players are divided into defenders, midfielders and forwards, so just going by goals or assists is just not efficient at all and is unfair. And the reason is, to rate a footballer, it's more than just goal contributions that go into consideration, which is why you need separate indexes, such as an attacking index which focuses mostly on goal scoring, shooting and efficiency, and a creativity index which is more about chance creation, for example. A possession and passing index which is about passing efficiency and ball progression, a defensive index which includes defensive contributions to a team such as tackles or interceptions, and finally a dribbling index. All these composites are then added into an overall, where attackers get most of their overall from the attacking index, midfielders get theirs from the creativity, possession and passing index, and defenders from the defensive index. So in order to be a good attacker, you need to be a prolific goal scorer, but also the rest of your game has to be good to get a higher overall. Now, once you apply this to every player one by one, you start to see things much more clearly. This, for example, is a graph that includes only forwards in a way that the further to the right you go, the better a player is as a pure goal scorer. And the higher you go, the more complete the rest of his abilities are, such as dribbling, chance creation, and so on. Just as you start, you'll see great players who have had poor World Cup performances such as Aguero in 2014 and Cristiano Ronaldo in 2022. Then you have Kenny Dalglish in 1974 as he was still yet very young, followed by Rooney in both 2006 and 2010. Then you also have other average performances such as JJ Okocha in 1998 and Kane in 2022 or Cristiano Ronaldo in 2006. Following them is Messi in 2018, which was a very poor tournament by his standards. And by now you have started to reach memorable performances such as Neymar in 2018 and 2014 or Cristiano Ronaldo in 2018, which is memorable for his hat-trick against Spain, followed by Batistuta in 1994. Now at this point, these are mostly legendary years such as Kane in 2026, Brazilian Ronaldo from 2002, or Mbappe and Messi from 2022. And as you reach the end, you start to hit all-time performances and the graph starts to narrow down. Up here you will see Messi and Mbappe from the record-breaking 2026, followed by 1970 Gerd Müller up here. But all the way up alone here is Eusebio. You see, Eusebio leading the group here doesn't mean he is the best player ever, because if you filter by creativity instead of attacking, you will find Maradona sitting at the top with Cruyff right behind him, followed by this year's Olise and others such as Xavi, Ozil or Frank de Boer. This also applies to defense, as you can also filter by defending instead of creativity, where you'll see some names at the top such as Cannavaro, Bobby Moore or Desailly and hundreds of other defenders. But in fact, you were also able to find out exactly how much a player is contributing to a team. For example, if French players created 15 chances, how many of them, for example, were created by Ousmane Dembélé? In this table, the further you go up, the more a player has contributed to a team's total of big chances created. This table only includes the top 40 contributors ever. You will find names such as Dunga and Kempes at the lower end, followed by 2002 Ronaldinho and 1998 Zinedine Zidane. Then you have Cruyff from 1974, who is followed by Thierry Henry from 2006. The list is made up mostly of legendary players as well, such as Iniesta and Schneider in 2010, followed by Lionel Messi in 2014. And as you reach the top, you will find remarkable contributions such as Xavi with 23% and 2022 Messi with 28%. Where right above him is Pelé in 1970 with a staggering 30%. Now Messi in 2026 is present at number 3 with a 36.5 of Argentina's chances created by him, and sitting at the number 1 and 2 spots are Maradona for both 1986 and 1990. Now you can also do the same for dribbling, where again Maradona sits on top with 49% of Argentina's dribbles completed by him, followed by Yamal this year at 48% and Messi for 2026 and 2014 right after each other. You can then do the same for interceptions, where it includes mostly defenders such as Abidal, Cannavaro, Laporte or defensive midfielders such as N'Golo Kante and Busquets. The same can also be done for tackles, where Dunga and Gattuso sit on top as demonstrated in this example. And this can be done for every other stat to show who the highest contributor per team is. Now to move to this graph, which has 3 lines, the first line shows the overall rating for the highest rated player that year. The second line shown in yellow shows the overall rating for the highest rated player from the champions team. The third line shows the average rating for a champions team. And just as the graph goes by, and just by looking at this, you can clearly notice a pattern forming. The best player in a tournament has barely ever won it, as this has only happened 5 times out of 16 World Cups. Which means reaching an all-time high performance or peaking doesn't always mean winning. Now, if you would manage to combine all of these stats together and all of these graphs, you will get this. A list of the 50 highest peaks reached in World Cup history from 1966 till this day, regardless from their positions. Already at the low end of this, you have remarkable defensive performances such as Passarella in 1978 and Desailly in 1998, which both ended up winning the World Cup that year. Then at number 43 is Zico in 1982 from the memorable Brazil squad, followed by 1970 Beckenbauer. Above them you have Toni Kroos from 2018, despite Germany's poor results, followed by World Cup winner 1998 Lilian Thuram on the defensive end, which also includes Ronald de Boer from 1998. The higher you go, the better the individual performances was. And now you have Olise from this year, who also makes an appearance at number 33 for what in my opinion is a very underrated year that isn't spoken about enough. Then you have 1970 Jairzinho and 1998 Zinedine Zidane at number 30 and 29, with Kylian Mbappe in 2026 right above them. Then you have a surprise appearance from Isco in 2018, who makes the list despite Spain's underachievement, followed by defensive midfielder Dunga at number 25. At the 20th mark, you are entering all-time great performances such as Gianni Rivera in 1966 and Michel Platini in 1978, who is not far ahead of him at number 17. Following them is Cannavaro and Mateus in 1998 and 1990, who are also right outside of the top 10, accompanied by Pelé in 1970. Opening the top 10 is Albert Chesternev, who is widely regarded as the greatest defender of his era, followed by Gerd Muller's record-breaking 1970. As you approach the top 5 will also be Mario Kempes from 1978 and Thomas Hassler from 1994. Messi in 2022 sits at number 6 as an all-time peak, followed by Stojkovic at number 5. Then you have Cruyff in 1974, who is ranked number 4, who is right behind Messi again at number 3, making double appearances in the top 6 all-time performances. At numbers 2 and 1 are both Eusebio for 1966 and Maradona for 1986 as the greatest individual performances in the World Cup since 1966. But you see, at this level of greatness, not everything is measurable by equations or metrics or statistics. It goes much deeper than that to reach that level of football immortality. There are so many other factors that elevate a player that they can positively contribute to a team without even scoring, assisting, or creating a chance. This example of Messi's pass to Enzo Fernandez prior to the equalizing goal against England shows the defensive gravity Messi demands at all times, leaving nearly half the players wide open. Now, going back on just how remarkable Messi and Maradona were in their 3 infamous campaigns, this is a goal tracking table which shows every goal scored by Argentina in 1986, 2022 and 2026. It also shows their goal contributions to every one of these goals. Maradona in 1986 contributes to 71.4% of Argentina's goals, whether by assisting or scoring them. Messi in 2022 with 66.7% and Messi in 2026 with a staggering 75%. And all 3 contribution percentages are the top 3 in World Cup history by a fair margin for any team to reach the quarter-final or further. But it doesn't stop there. This is a table that shows every player's attacking performance against the overall performance. Now, besides Maradona in 1990 as he was playing as a deep playmaker, even at the absolute worst form, they both still managed to rank way above the average player in terms of an attacking performance, which is shown by the white line in the middle of the pack. But you see, the thing is, they also did that in terms of creativity and also in terms of dribbling. So even at the absolute worst World Cup performance and the worst year imaginable, they are both still comfortably better than the average player in every aspect of the game except of defending. But also to give Messi credit where it's due. This is a heat map on a plot graph that tracks the average World Cup overall for all players year by year. As you can tell, the average individual overall score has been decreasing, especially since 2010 and Guardiola's implementation of possession football over individual reliance. And this for me makes Messi's 2026 campaign even more mind-blowing, considering the gap between him and the average player in the World Cup is massive. But also to get a view of how important Messi is, this is a graph that shows players who have contributed to over 30 of their team's shots. The higher you go, the higher the percentage of the involvement is. As you can see here, since 1966, only 7 players have been involved in 30+ shots at a World Cup and contributed to at least half of the team's shots, either by a chance created or a shot attempted. 2 of those are Messi in 2022 and 2026, while another was Maradona in 1986. And this is the same graph with players over 34 years of age to do so. But it gets even crazier, as this plot graph you're looking at shows the overall rating of a player against the attacking index filtered by age, with Messi's 2 remarkable seasons highlighted. You can already see that as the age goes up, less and less players are being featured on the list, which was originally 1,500 players. By the age of 30, the list has already gone down by nearly 500%. And at this point, it is just clear how insane Messi's 2 years are.